Blessings, everyone. We are back. We are back with a brand new episode of the Vistara Hour. This season's been very interesting because we're pre-recording all these shows, everyone. So all of our listeners, we're pre-recording these shows. So there's a big benefit to us being able to pre-record the shows. I will say that, but I will also say that there is this sense of momentum that feels like it's a little off.
It does.
Because we haven't been
hard season.
Yeah, because we haven't been able to record consistently. That's the other thing. So even with pre-recording, if we were able to pre-record consistently, I think the momentum would still be building. But because we've had so many bumps in the road this season, it's been a bit of a churn. It's been a bit of a challenge.
It's been a challenge, and I think what we're going through is just like a reflection of what humanity's going through right now. I think everybody's just really going through it at the moment.
And by the time everybody hears this episode, the current events that are happening right now globally I don't know where they will be by the time that this episode comes out. But we are currently, we're recording on November 2nd. This is the official date of the recording. It's not going to be the date of the release of the episode. So we are in, it's been 2 weeks of so much heartbreak globally. And, I don't want to get into the political side of it, but humanity's like there was this meme that I came across a few times on Instagram that says like humanity's failing, like we are failing as human beings. And that is a very extremist like perspective, or it's a very cynical perspective, but I can understand where it stems from, because you wouldn't think that in 2023, with everything that we've dealt with already over the past couple of years, that we would find ourselves in the place that the world is in right now. Which solidifies and sort of reaffirms why this show is so important to you and I, because it is a light within this darkness. It is a light within the struggle, hopefully, for people who listen to the show.
Yeah, and it's definitely a light within us in the midst of, our transformation and what's happening. And I don't like the word failing, because I don't think that gives humanity any hope. I think there's always hope. There's always hope. As long as we're alive and as long as we're breathing, as long as we wake up the next day, there's hope. And I think we need to really kind of focus on that. And I think we need to reprioritize what really matters. I just feel like we've hit like this, almost like this breaking point. Like what really matters. And it's a huge transformation point in humanity, and we're living it and we're going through it right now. And there's a lot of destruction happening, and it doesn't matter what political side we're on, whether we are Republican or Democrat, or whether or not we are on the side of the Palestinians or Israelis. Doesn't matter. We're people. We're all people. And I really feel like we need to get back to that point of being people and human beings, and not dehumanizing anybody, not taking their humanity away because they don't think or feel or act the same way we do. We're all people. We're all reflections of God. All reflections of God. And the sun shines on everybody the same. Exactly the same. And I think this is a really good opening to what I wanted to talk about today, is kind of the silence and going back to the basics of spirituality. And there's a story that I want to read from this book. I love this book. You're putting this all on YouTube now, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a YouTube channel.
We do. And at this point, most of the episodes are scheduled, I believe. At least for the next 3 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, the episodes are scheduled.
Well, this book right here is absolutely amazing. It's called The Divine Mystery Fort, and it's Sri Kalishwar. Here's this picture on the back right here. It's Sri Kalishwar, and he is the guru I've been following now for 12 years, because that door just opened up very, very wide for me, and never in my life have I seen channels and energy more than what he brought through. And something like this isn't meant for everybody, but it was meant for me, and it is meant for me. So I'm going to read a little bit out of this book right here. This morning I just woke up and I had planned on the entire morning journaling, being in silence, and just getting right for today's episode. But that didn't happen.
Nope.
A lot of illusions were hitting. So the only thing I can think of is my dog ate some Halloween candy, because we're 2 days past Halloween. And because all of a sudden he had explosive diarrhea all over the house.
Lovely.
So I couldn't do what I wanted to do. And so I got him cleaned up, got in the shower, and happened again. And but before all of this stuff happened, I was reading out of this book, and I just really feel like it kind of grounded me. It just kind of kept me like focused on, all right, I know this is what's happening right now, but I'm looking forward to getting to record the show today. So anyways, basically, this morning what I did is I opened up the book, and I do this a lot. And I opened it up to chapter 8. It's called The Basics, Silence and Brahma Consciousness. So basically, this chapter right here, chapter 8, The Basics, Silence and Brahma Consciousness, the soul is the doorway to the cosmic energy and knowledge. And this isn't very long at all, okay? God is within us. God is the big temple. He's living in us. We have to find him in us, in our hearts. He's not in the church. He's not in the temple. He's not in the mosque. And he's not in the hills. This body is the big temple. The soul is the pot, the vessel of cosmic energy. The cosmic energy, what is that? It is the deepest silence in the universe. In that silence is hidden huge information. That silence is called cosmic energy. Now, here on this earth, there are millions of channels of information, scientific reasoning, radio, TV, different kinds of messages. Just as we receive information from those channels, so can we receive soul messages with unbelievable information. We can talk from here to anywhere, any planet, any soul energies. That is called cosmic energy. So when we have the ability to hear the soul, we automatically receive the highest thoughts. Automatically they come. For example, before speaking to a group, you have no idea what you're going to say, no idea of what you are going to express before the people. Then automatically it comes. Some people have those kinds of channels. It means they have a link to the silence. The silence teaches unbelievable messages. If you make the connection with the cosmic energy, you can connect to any soul in the universe. It's like a satellite communication that connects over cosmic energy waves. You can command the whole universe sitting in your room, controlling everything, fixing it, to go across the illusions, everything. It is only possible through the silence. Without silence, it's very hard. With silence, it's very easy to go to that. Real spirituality means creating silence, the cosmic energy. Our soul knows all the knowledge, whatever there is in the universe. We can recognize it when we find ourselves. Then knowledge, even if you are sitting or talking to someone, it will come automatically from the cosmic energy. Some people have found silence. They are a little away from the entire world, all the public, all the society. They never interrupt anyone's energy. They never focus on someone's craziness. They have their own peace. They have their own focus. They're always thinking of who they are. They're always thinking of what they're doing, thinking, bringing up step by step, step by step, step by step. They hit the goal. What I recommend is to focus on deep peace. Suck the peace in you. Be peaceful and don't talk too much. If you talk too much, your lifespan will go down. Your mind's capability will go down. Your memory power will go down. Everything goes down. Be very, very peaceful. Less talk works well. In such peace, a person develops knowledge. He's bringing huge knowledge in his soul. Through the peace, the right thoughts come, and he can implement those thoughts in the right time, in the right direction. He's getting success. Any self-made person, any successful businessman, it is their mind capability that made them successful. The mind capability is the inner peace. Do you have any thoughts on that one? That was a powerful.
There's so much to unpack. As
Really
always, like, I love how very direct but very soft he is with his directness.
Yeah.
I definitely appreciate how he opens that segment with, you won't find God in a church, you won't find God in a temple, you won't find God in a mosque. And I love that he even adds, you won't find God in a hill. Like, even if you're sitting out in nature like this, because a lot of times I would be like, I would say things like this, like, Jesus used to preach outside. So like, there shouldn't be a church, like outside is a church. And even that, Sri Kalashwar is basically saying, yeah, no. It's like, oh, you little cute thing. No, that's not, no, God is not in a hill either, because the temple is you. Like, the temple is this body, this vessel that your soul is in. That is the temple. That is the church. That is the mosque. That is the hill that you're talking about. Like, finding God is going within. And I love that the idea of like going within also comes with that big disclaimer of like, going within means like silence.
Yes.
Means like listen. It means sit with yourself. It means listen. It means give yourself time to listen. Open your heart to listen. And it's not just like listen externally, it's listen internally.
Yes.
I love all of that, because in a way it all sort of links to the idea or the concept of meditation, because that is essentially what you're trying to do. Is you are trying to go within when it comes to meditation. You're trying to sit in silence when it comes to meditation. You're trying to be open to receive. You're trying to open your heart to receive that guidance, that inner guidance. I love that. I absolutely love that.
I really feel like after reading all of that this morning, it just really, even in the midst of the craziness going on at my house with literally crappy morning, I really did. I didn't even really panic either. I was like, well, this is what it is, and this is what I have to do. But even in the midst of all of that, I put myself in the silence and just got through what I needed to get through. And putting myself within the silence, not really ruminating on, oh, this dog, what is this dog doing? Blah, blah, blah. This is making my life harder. I could have put myself in that place, but I didn't. I just put myself in the silence and I just did what needed to be done. And I did it. Mopped my floor a few times, took a few showers before I got out the door. And it is what it is. It really is what it is. I didn't focus on the negativity of it. I did what I needed to do so I could get here. And being within the silence, not listening to music, not listening to TV, not even minding my own thoughts, really, is what got me honestly through this morning. And that is a big part of meditation. As you know, I taught you meditation.
You did.
And I don't like the word trying, because trying means that there is an aspect of failure attached to that you could fail. And meditation really isn't about succeeding or failing. It is really about being there for yourself and with yourself. And there's no trying involved. It really is just doing and allowing those thoughts to come in and out, and not even judging them, just allowing it. I really feel like a lot of meditation teachers will set people up for failure when they say, clear your head.
Yeah, clear your mind. Yeah.
You really can't clear your mind. And the second you try to clear your mind, what happens? It just continues and continues and continues, and it drives you crazy. I used to meditate in a group setting, and they would say, clear your mind. Well, my monkey mind would, go supersonic on me, and all the thoughts would start coming in. And they'd say, walk on the beach. Well, I was walking on the beach, in my mind with the thoughts. Or imagine yourself on top of a mountain. Well, I imagine myself on top of the mountain with the thoughts. The whole thing is to be able to recognize a thought and recognize the peace and silence that's actually happening regardless of your thoughts. And when I teach meditation, that's what we have to establish first, is that peace. Do you recognize your thoughts? And do you recognize the silence? And do you recognize the peace that's happening? And then when we recognize that there's actually peace going on in the midst of all the thoughts, and there's silence going on in the midst of all of those thoughts, it's easier to allow the thoughts to come in and out. It's like the ultimate act of surrender.
I was just going to say, yeah, you have to surrender. It's like meditation isn't about trying. It's about surrendering.
It's about doing it.
It's about, yeah. And much like what Yoda said, do or do not. There is no try.
Yes. Do or do not. And I just really feel like humanity needs to connect back with the silence. Just needs to be there and recognize the silence within all the craziness. How are we going to get through this? We always say that somebody changes when they hit their lowest point. And I don't know where humanity's lowest point is. The only thing that we know is where our lowest point is. And that lowest point brings us back to the top.
What's crazy
That's when we start making the changes.
You would think that after everything humanity's been through that we've hit our lowest point, but we just keep going back down. Like it feels like, yeah. It feels like this is it's like that is the journey that humanity needs to take as a collective. On an individual level, that's separate, but as part of this collective, our journey is completely different. It's like they're two separate parallel journeys going on at the same time. It's like it's your journey, your individual journey, but then on top of that, there is the journey of the human collective, which sometimes clashes with your own journey. Sometimes it forces you to look deeper, and I think that's the point. The point is that humanity is a mirror, much like another person that you're friends with could be that mirror. It's a mirror to have you look at your, like, seeing what is happening in the world right now. Like, what is that lesson to you? Like, what is that for you? What is that? How is that going to allow you to change? How is that going to allow you to transform? What lesson is this trying to teach you as a human being? Like, what are you learning from this? How is that going to help enhance the transformational journey that you are going on as an individual? I think that it's very interesting to see it that way, to view it that way.
Yeah, I see it. Yes, I'm going on my individual journey, but we come from the same source, and we
Right.
are one.
Right.
So at the end of the day, what's the difference? The individual journey or the journey of humanity together?
Well,
What
no, I
is
wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't saying that there's a difference. I think it's more the journey in and of itself. The rhythm is different. Let's just say it that way. Maybe because like I might be of like my journey might feel faster than someone else's, right? Or I might be in a place in my journey where that other person is not ready to be at yet, right? So it's more about pacing and rhythm. I think it's more about like how much more in alignment I am individually with my higher self, let's say, or with the divine, like how much more aligned I am with with the divine versus, let's say, someone who isn't. And I when I look at humanity as a whole, I think our biggest struggle right now is how disconnected we've gotten from God within.
how disconnected we've gotten from ourselves?
Yeah, from God within. Like I there is this massive disconnection. So when you take disconnection plus that heartbreak that Sri Kalashwar has mentioned, that, what was that percentage? Like 80% of the world is, or 85% of the world, or 90% of the world is they're heartbroken. So when you take that disconnection and you mash it with that heartbreak, you've just got a lot of people having temper tantrums is what you do. It's, and a lot of those people that are having temper tantrums, unfortunately, are people in power, and people that could cause a lot of harm. And it's like, it's so simple and yet it's so sad. It's like if you'd healed as a person, as an individual, if you were more in alignment with your higher self, and if you were someone who did actually follow the mantra of like what we say at the end of the show, which is like that my journey is at the, for the harm of none and for the good of all, you know what I mean? Like if that was something that every single person actually practiced, then we would have heaven on earth.
True.
It's that simple.
True. And there are a lot of people out there that, think that they are helping humanity by being activists and choosing a side and preaching their side. And, a lot of it for a lot of different individuals is about perspective, really is about perspective. And what I'm going to say about that is whatever side you're on and whatever you believe in, focus on yourself first and foremost before you try to prove anything to anybody. Focus on yourself first and foremost. Go out in nature. No, God, I really believe, the term Aham Brahmasmi, meaning God is everywhere. God is within here, but we're all looking outside in the temples and the mosque and the churches, we're looking outside for God. And when we actually find God within us and focus on the silence, then we can find God everywhere else. We can find God in the hills. We can find God in the churches. We can find God in nature. We can find God anywhere. We can find God in the people who come to us. But we have to, God is in here first, and we've got to find that. And the only way we can find that is in the silence, really is in the silence. And silence scares people.
Mm-hmm. We discussed that in
Because
season 1 of the show.
Yeah, it scares people because they're really afraid of being with themselves, and they're afraid of their thoughts. But in reality, from the minute we're born, we're soaking it in. We're like little sponges. We're soaking it in. What people are saying, what we read, what we hear, the music that we're listening to, the shows that we watch. It's why I won't watch horror movies. I won't do it because it's going somewhere within the consciousness of me. And this world is hard enough right now to live in. And so what I want to do for myself is make it as easy as possible and not listen to or watch a bunch of stuff that's going to be conflicting to who I am as a person, because it just goes in. And if we don't know not to mind our thoughts, if we don't know that the first thought of release in the body is actually a thought, we hold it in. We really hold it in, and we start acting it out in weird, funny ways. And we don't even realize that maybe what's coming out is the horror movie we saw when we were 10 years old, or, something that we watched on TV, or something that we read. And so we're all like acting out all this craziness, not even knowing that we just don't need to mind it, because it's not really who we are. It really is not who we are. And that's what we talk about in the meditation class. We go through all of this. If God is the ocean, and we're a drop of the ocean, everything
that was the first lesson.
Is in that drop.
That was the first lesson.
The drop of water goes out of the ocean and returns back to the ocean. And it's what we do. It is really what we do. And a lot of times I'll have people explain, when you get down to the bottom of the ocean, if you're scuba diving and you get down to the bottom of the ocean and you look up to the top of the ocean, you see all this activity, but what's happening when you are at the bottom of the ocean? It's very peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very peaceful. And if we can describe that peace, I have a lot of people come to me and start to describe that peace. And some of the words that they talk about would be silence, love, protection. And what they are really doing is that they are describing what is deep, deep down within them, what they harbor themselves, that aspect of God that's within them. And when we start to meditate, and when we start to meditate on a regular basis, we have to clear all of that stuff first. All of that stuff, they're like air bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
The
that was lesson number 2.
The crap that we take in, and we bring in, it all has to be released, which is why we're not going to mind it. But eventually we're going to get down to the floor of the ocean, where there is peace and where there is love and solitude and protection and all of that. And we bring it up and we bring it out. We bring those deeper qualities that are within us out, and we start to live them. And we learn not to mind the noise. We learn not to mind, the dog having an emergency or people acting crazy. And he kind of talked about that in here, where he talked about, don't talk too much.
Yes, that was something else that I did pick up on, is that, like, don't talk too much. Like, if you do, you have the actual quote? Can you read it?
Yes. He says, I have said this like 100 million times. Hey, please try to be in peace. Suck the peace within you. Be peaceful. Don't talk too much. If you talk too much, your lifespan will go down. Your mind capability will go down. Your memory power will go down. Everything goes down. Be very, very peaceful. Less talk works well.
And if you
in such peace, a person develops knowledge. He's bringing huge knowledge to a soul.
And it's like, you take that and you try to apply it to our world today, where he's like, don't talk too much or it will reduce your lifespan. Yeah. Because you're putting energy out there, energy that's supposed to be within. And look at social media. That's all social media is you putting energy out there, more and more of it out there. And it's being done with the intention of seeking attention. It's being done
trying to prove a point.
Right? Trying to prove a point, trying to seek attention, trying to sell and market and whatever. It's become the constant talking. You may not be like physically talking if you're on Twitter, because that way, or Threads, because you're typing. But if you're on like Instagram or TikTok, then you're talking nonstop. It's very interesting. This past week, I've been so busy with work because one of the things we haven't shared on this show is that I got a new job.
Congratulations.
And I'm very happy about it because I freaking love this job. I won't share what it is, but on the show, but it's very time consuming because I went from having a very, very flexible, floaty in the wind kind of schedule to a very rigid, I've got to fill up a quota of things I got to do and hours I got to, clock in. Even though it's very remote, it's still built upon that basis. I have not had the time that I usually have to scroll on social media. I have not had the time that I usually have to be creating content for social media. And a part of me today was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Like, I have to make sure that I'm putting, and then I was like, do I really need to be worrying about that right now? Because the important thing is that I am doing what I need to be doing. My job forces me to be more silent because I'm legitimately reading the whole time and typing notes. So I'm not really talking to anybody. I'm just sitting and focusing on my job and being very silent at my job. The biggest benefit of this is the past 2 weeks, I haven't done any of my tarot reading or haven't had those clients. And it's been very interesting when you filter out energies that may not necessarily be aligning. So whether that be let's say negative clients, horror movies, social media, I'm putting them all under that umbrella of when you start filtering out those things, magic starts happening.
Have you felt better? Have you felt more balanced?
Loads.
Are you sleeping better?
That's the part that's still a little tricky. But I think it's because I think it's just there's a lot of different variables.
Yeah.
I think because I've been, again, so excited about the job, I feel like I'm still getting used to everything. So my mind isn't as stable. And then add to it everything else that's happening globally. Which, again, I've been trying my best to sort of zone it out and not have it be around me as much as possible. But there are things that you just cannot prevent, like you cannot prevent. You can't. Yeah, I wish there was a, like a mute button, like a mute world button, but that doesn't work. Like that's not how it functions. But I also want to go back to something that you said about like, from the moment we're born, we're bombarded with stuff.
We're bombarded with information.
We're bombarded with information. And I wanna do a quick thing where I want to ask Bug if I can read something that he sent me a while back. Can I read an excerpt from it? The little poem thing that you sent? Okay, cool. Because he sent me something and I absolutely loved it. It's not very long, but I'm gonna read it because I feel like it really fits the conversation that we're having. And it might actually like propel us to dig deeper into this topic. So this is what he sent me. He said, I wrote this as I was waking up. So it says, we were not made for a world where we get bombarded with news from the moment we wake up to the moment we sleep. That is a world without calm. We were not made for a world where you have constant access to everyone and everyone has constant access to us. That is a world without peace. We were not made for a world where we can find out everything about anything in a minute. That is a world without wonder. We were not made for a world where it is impossible to be bored and the options to fill up time are infinite. That is a world without creativity. We were not made for a world that moves so fast we can barely keep up. That is a world without time. We were not made for a world. We were not made for this world.
Yeah, I like that. I really like that.
I read that and like tears came to my eyes because it's so simple, but it's so powerful because it's so true.
Did he write that?
Yeah. He wrote it as he was waking up and he sent it to me. It's, I joke about calling him like, I'm like, there's an inner guru inside of you. You just don't know it yet. But it's very profound. It is very profound because again, technology and everything has moved and expanded so fast to the point where it's exhausting. Because the more we progress in this world, the less quiet it gets. The more noisy it gets. The more, again, it's like where you have access to everyone and everyone has access to you. That it's like, that is a world without peace. That's what he says. And it's 100%. It's 100%. Like back in the day when cell phones didn't exist and it was a home phone with a giant freaking cord, like nobody could freaking call you all the time. Like it was like, you didn't have access to everybody. It wasn't as simple as that. It wasn't so accessible. And everybody at first was like, oh, wow, this is going to make things so easy. And it's like, yeah, but it's also made things so hard.
It really has.
It's made things so hard because
our children don't know the blessing of being bored.
Yes. And that is something I do have to, and that is something I always say, like I praise my sister for this because I was witness to it when I was in Florida in February last year. I was witness to this. At one point, I saw my niece and my nephew getting very like agitated and whatever. And I was going to go help them and like play with them. And Mandy was like, no. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, let them be agitated. Let them be bored. It's freaking okay. Like they need to be able to figure it out on their own and be creative and let them do the thing. And I have to praise her for that, because that is it's exactly what we did when we were kids before we had like I never had a computer until it was like 14, 15. That was when we had our first, weird ass giant laptop with dial up, like dial up internet, like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
those sound like it took you
Yes.
20 minutes to log on to the internet. So you were very freaking intentional with what you wanted to go on the internet for.
Yeah.
Now everything is so easy. You watch TV shows in 8 hours in a go. You don't wait week to week to week to watch an episode. Everything is so easy.
Yes.
But that easiness has gotten us to a point where nothing has value anymore.
We've really cluttered our minds, haven't we, with all this access to everything. And we don't know how to be bored. We don't know how to be alone. We don't know how to be in silence. We don't know how to be peaceful, because we are so used to being instantly accessed and accessible and finding everything online all the time. We don't know what it's like anymore. And I have to say, the trip to Asheville, that's what changed
you recently
for
went to
me.
you recently went to Asheville for your
I went to
birthday.
Asheville a few years
Belated
ago.
freaking birthday on the show.
Oh,
Happy
thank you.
belated birthday on the Vistara Hour.
Well, I didn't go to Asheville this last time. I went back to where I grew up in Kernersville.
Oh, okay.
North Carolina. But a few years ago, I went to Asheville, and that's basically when my life started changing. I've always, my entire life, I've always wanted and craved peace. It's the way I came in. And I grew up in North Carolina. It was the first time I've ever been to Asheville. And there's something very, very special about that place. Very special about that place. And I didn't spend the entire week in Asheville. I kind of went to the outskirts, and every single day I'd wake up and put in Google free things to do in Asheville. And you can totally be in Asheville and not spend a ton of money just by Googling free things to do in Asheville. And it's all nature-based. All these different paths that you can walk, or all these different trails you can walk.
There's like beautiful waterfalls there too, isn't there?
Oh my gosh. It is so unbelievably beautiful out there. And that is where I found God, because I was within the silence, and I didn't find God in the hills, but that was a mechanism for me to find God within me. And that is when my life started to change. And that is when I started protecting the divine within me, and protecting the divine within me, not Allison, not my ego, but protecting the divine within me, protecting that connection to God that I have within me, protecting this temple that I was given at birth by God. My life started to change. It really, really, really started to change. And I had to make a bunch of hard decisions. I'm still in the midst of making a bunch of hard decisions. It doesn't always come immediate, but the focus now is different. The focus for me now, instead of trying to prove my point, instead of trying to be right, my focus now is peace. How do I continue to live this life and keep the peace and silence within me? Because at the end of the day, that is the most important. And anybody coming into my life, if they don't honor that silence and peace, I love you, but I have to keep you out there. And that's the way it goes. And that is how my life had to change. And that is how it's still changing. Change doesn't always happen overnight.
No.
It's a series of things, especially when you're making a dramatic change in your life. Dramatic change in your life.
Unless you're
but that
Alan,
is
because Alan just rips off the Band-Aid. Hits the
It
brakes,
just
turns over, take the exit, don't care. Let's just
but that is honestly when I made the decision that I needed the peace. And I spent the entire week, like, yes, I spoke to some friends that week, but that wasn't my focus at all. I watched very little TV. I think I watched less than TV because I like.
Oh, Allison, hang on a second. You're disconnecting. Oh no. Resume. Okay.
Where was I?
You were saying that you did speak to friends, but
Oh,
you're
yes.
yeah.
And there was very little
Wait. Go.
there was very little TV, and I would spend days on end in nature. From the time I got up and ate breakfast, I would put a Cliff Bar and an apple and banana and water in my backpack, and I would just go and come back at night after the sun would set. And I just felt so peaceful that turning on the TV felt like a distraction to me. Completely felt like a distraction. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to honor that peace and I wanted to honor that silence. And so that's what I did that week. And within that peace and within that silence arose a different kind of knowledge within me, but it wasn't about the world. It was about me. It was about the soul that's within this body. It wasn't the world needs to do this and the world needs to do that. It arose with, what does Allison need? What does Allison's soul need at this moment in order to move forward? And Allison's soul needed peace. Allison's soul needed silence. And that is what changed my life. The inner knowledge of me.
That is such a beautiful point to just.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. And I invite anybody to and everybody to explore themselves. But you can't really explore yourselves if you're going to be like, okay, I like manicures, I like pedicures, I like seafood, I don't like seafood, whatever it is. Like that's okay. And we can start there. This is my favorite color, whatever. We can start there. But I really invite our listeners to really, really, really go within. To really go within and not be afraid to ask the question, what does my soul need? And what do I need in order to get there? And how am I going to take those steps in order to get there? How am I going to know what this soul needs that's housed within this temple? The only way we can find that is through the silence. It's the only way we can access that. Prayer is talking to God. It's talking, it's getting out that energy. Meditation is allowing God to speak to us. And God can
I
speak
love
to
that.
us in so many different ways, God can
I
speak
love
to
that.
us like through me, when I was out in Asheville, nature spoke to me because there's no boundaries on nature. Being within that peace and following my own inner guidance.
It's like you experience God through the vessel of nature.
Mhm.
To me, and I've mentioned this to you multiple times over the phone, I experience God the most. I experience God within me, the God within me the most when I'm writing,
Mhm.
when I'm being creative, when I'm telling stories. That is when I hear God the most and I experience God the most. It is no, and I love that we keep coming back to this on this show, but it is no surprise that when I was in a very dark place in my teen years,
Mhm.
the thing that ends up saving my life is poetry, because that's when I started writing poetry. It's no surprise to me that when I experienced war for the first time in my home country in 2006, and I prayed to God to give me an answer, the answer came out through a script called
Mhm.
One Last Stand. It's no surprise to me that when I wanted to explore more of what love means, what true love means, again, it was explored through another screenplay or another poem, or when I was trying to understand family dynamics and how family works and what that means, and what does it mean when your family is clashing, or what does it mean when your family is not always on the same page, and how do you manage and navigate a family when you're sort of the black sheep? And when I had all of these questions and I would ask these questions to God, another screenplay was born.
Yes.
And now that I'm going through this struggle of very deep inner child wound healing, I'm feeling very called to writing something for my inner child, which is something that I haven't necessarily done in a big capacity, but that's sort of what's happening now. So to me, it's like I love that God is accessible to you in a way that is unique to you.
Yes. But what is the commonality between how I find God within me and how you find God within me? It's the
Silence.
silence.
Yeah.
You got, like, in order for you to write these scripts and in order for you to write the poems, you have to put yourself in that silence.
Yeah.
In order for me to be in nature, and I can't be in nature with my earbuds in, listening to music. I have to put my phone up and I just have to go. And I watch the birds and I watch the leaves. This past time when I was in North Carolina, I got to walk out in nature a lot. And what I noticed a lot were the leaves changing. And there were all these brilliant, beautiful shades of red and orange and yellow. There was still some green, but they were the most beautiful colors. And by sitting out there in nature, I got to thank God for the beauty of nature. And all of that, the gratitude and the silence for me brings me back to who I am.
And all of that, the gratitude and the silence, brings me back to who I am.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful. So on that note, It's good to do one of these, just you and I
know.
again, by
This
the
is
way.
like the first time in a long time that it's just been Alan and Allison doing
I know it's bananas this year. We were like, you know what? We'll just have a few guests this season. I was just like, guess. I was like, wait a minute. Okay. Yeah. No, yeah. I need to have the Alan and Allison hour at least, somewhere in between there.
But I love the guests. Like I loved Rich. I loved him and Maureen and then my daughter, like
Karis. So I do want to mention this to our listeners. Depending on how I end up working the episode with Karis, it might end up being just a goop to like grouped up into one episode, because we did record one episode already, but it feels to me and it felt to Karis that it's a little incomplete. So we're going to sort of record another bit with her. And then I'll edit those together into one complete episode and then release it. So I'm not sure when that's going to happen, depending on how and when we are able to record the second episode. Because to be very honest, I'm curious to see if we can sort of do that episode while I'm there. So that way it'll be like the four of us sort of just sitting together and having this conversation. I think it might be more interesting.
I think I like that. I really like that idea. I really do. I think that's great. Maybe we can like edit it all together and
or if we end up just recording something that's way better than what we recorded before, then we'll just use that. But I almost feel like something is calling her to be more vocal on this show, and I want to give her the space, and I want to hold that space for her in order to do it.
So funny. Like I remember at the very end of the session with her, she really just laid a wisdom bomb on us,
Oh yeah, it was just like, so unexpected.
Wow, spoken from a 15-year-old. She really, really, really pulled that out from within her soul. And I remember being just so proud of her. And
you started crying.
Yeah, like we got off and she looked at me and she was like, you and Alan talk too much. I wasn't done. And I was
brilliant.
Like, I'm so sorry.
Brilliant.
So, yeah, you two talk too much. So,
well, I mean, excuse me, Karis, but it is our show.
She was like, there is so much more within me that I wanted to say. So we're going to give her that space. And,
I think it would be a lot more fun if we did it when I was, God willing, when I'm there in December, that we record it, the three of us. I don't know why I said four. I meant the three of us.
Who knows? There might be a fourth. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. So on that note, everybody, you can make sure to follow us on our Instagram, our official Instagram page at the Vistara Hour. You can also check out our website, vistarahour.com, where you can listen to the show, comment on the episodes, go back and listen to the archive of season 1. You can also email us at thevistarahour@gmail.com if you want to reach out to us, share your story with us. Please leave us a review if you're a fan of the show. Please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. It does help us climb up the ranks. Share this podcast with all of your friends, family, people who you think would benefit from listening to the show. That's pretty much it from my end. As always in season 2, I love that we're doing this. I will hand it off to Allison to close the show for today.
May all beings be happy and free. May all the thoughts, words, and actions of my own life contribute in some way to the happiness and freedom for all. Namaste.
Blessings. Namaste. Blessings, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti